This is the Entrepreneur Unleashed Show, episode 74 with Maddie Peschong. Hi, I'm Patty Keating, and I believe entrepreneurs are the future of the world. Over the past 2 decades, I've built 4 businesses in alignment with my values, giving me the freedom to live where I want and do what I love. I'm here to tell you that creating your successful business does not require struggle or sacrifice. So, how do you create the lifestyle business you love doing only what you love? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Unleashed podcast. I'm so excited to bring you Maddie Peschong today. She's a brand photographer and strategist who believes showing up and being yourself is the best way to build an irresistible brand, right? That's what we talk about all the time. She helps passionate women build personal brands to magnetically attract soul sister clients. She's the host of Take It Personally podcast and the owner of White Space Studio, a natural light studio space for creatives. And she helps them design, dream, build, host, and collaborate. She says she spends too much time on Instagram sharing personal branding and Instagram tips with her internet friends. Welcome, Maddie.
Thank you, Patty. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I am just really getting into Instagram, and we just did a rebrand for pattykeating.com. So I'm excited to hear, just everything from your perspective and share you with our audience.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. I said a little bit about you. Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
Well, I live in the Midwest. I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I absolutely love it here. And I'm a mom of 2, and we're actually due with our 3rd baby any day now. So that's an exciting thing happening in our life right now.
That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us what inspired you to start your business.
Yeah, so I've been a photographer for about 8 or 9 years, and I always did it as more of a side hustle. I always had a job in marketing or social media, and I really loved that job. I wasn't necessarily the type of person who was itching to leave. There were certainly things that, I liked the idea of making my own schedule and that sort of a thing, but I liked what I was doing 8 to 5. And so photography was just a creative outlet for me. And I bounced around a lot trying to figure out the types of photography that I liked. And I truly did it all, and never necessarily felt like one particular thing like really lit me up inside. I would have friends who would do weddings or would work with babies, and like they just absolutely loved it. They could do it a million times a week and it would never be enough. And I never really had that feeling. And actually, I really liked the business side of photography, and kind of figuring out like different streams of income and how to increase revenue and build a brand and that sort of a thing, which made sense with the marketing side of my life. So about 2 years ago, my business had really just gotten to the point where I needed to make a decision if I was going to do that full time or, really go all in at my day job. So I decided to leave my day job very amicably, and it was a good decision, I think, for all, because I was at the point where I felt like I couldn't totally give it all to my job anymore either, which wasn't fair to them. And so I quit my job, and at that point, I was starting to do more brand photography kind of for myself. Like I would either set my camera settings and hand the camera to my husband, or I would hire another photographer in town and kind of walk them through what I wanted, or I would set up a tripod. And I was sharing a lot of these photos on social media to just help educate, kind of get my face out there. My town is similar to probably a lot of other towns in that we have so many photographers here, and they're really, really incredible. It's very difficult to compete on talent because there's a ton of talent. And so I knew that I needed to compete in a different different space. And that was building a brand and really showcasing like my own personality and how their experience could be different if they worked with me, knowing that that would super jive with some people and not with others, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I started to get questions mostly from other photographers, but just creative small business owners kind of saying like, could you take some of those types of photos for me too? Because I want to share more of myself on my Instagram or in my marketing. And so that's really how it started. And then once I realized that this was a thing, that brand photography was a thing, again, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I thought, well, this I could do all the time. Like, this is fantastic. And, you know, these sessions would almost turn into like mentoring sessions as well, because we would be chatting about how they could use the images when they were done and all of those things. And so it was just so exciting for me. So I made that shift to like branding and commercial photography about a year and a half ago, and really haven't looked back. And it's opened so many doors for my business too. And it just feels like this is where I'm supposed to be. You know, looking back, it's like, okay, yeah, all those things happened because I was supposed to end up here. So
yeah, that's so cool. You found your spot.
Totally.
So what kind of obstacles showed up once you went full in with your business?
I would say one of the things that I'm still trying to figure out, and probably will be for forever, is just time management. I get really excited about a lot of things. And so I tend to have shiny object syndrome with projects. And I love working from home, but it presents its own challenges too, because, you know, I'll have it like today, for example, I was trying to just kind of get stuff tidy and do the laundry. But I also have deadlines that I have to, you know, like make sure that I'm delivering stuff on time. And so just managing my time and making sure to, you know, use in a perfect world, time block, and have certain days that I'm working on my podcast, or certain days that I'm working on editing, or going back and forth with clients. That has been a hard thing for me. It's very easy, I think, to get to the end of the day and feel like I didn't stop moving all day and I don't know what I did, you know? So just being more aware of that, that's been really challenging.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's, as we receive more and more information and see more opportunities, especially for creatives, it's just never ending. It's like, oh, let's do this. And
absolutely. It's so easy to see what other people are doing and think, well, I should do that then. I need to be doing that. And that can be a really slippery slope.
Absolutely. So what are you passionate about right now?
You know, I was just having this conversation with my husband the other day because we were just chatting about, so you had mentioned we own a photography studio called White Space Studio, and it's where I shoot a lot of the time, but it's also where we open it up for other community members to come in and use it, whether they're photographers or just other creatives. And I would say that's one of our biggest goals right now, is to figure out a way to grow that. And we were just kind of chatting about that. And I get really excited about curating, like, you know, creating a space for other people to come together and collaborate. And like I mentioned, there are so many amazing creatives in this town. It's been really, really fulfilling to, instead of focusing on that like it's a competition, instead saying like, how can I help, and how can I make it better and elevate everybody? That's been a really exciting challenge that is getting, I think, both of us really fired up. And my husband isn't a huge part of my business. He's just kind of coming into it a little bit more, but even he gets excited about that. And so that's exciting too, to have other people kind of coming in and seeing the goal.
Yeah. And I feel a real sense of community in your heart, like wanting to bring people together, including your husband. And
yeah, community is exactly the word. Yeah, it's been, that is so fulfilling to me, to kind of bring people together who are able to kind of collaborate and just create really amazing things.
Yeah, very cool. So what's your vision for, like, say 5 years?
In the past year, I have started doing more brand coaching. I do, I call it a mastermind. It's more of like a group coaching program, to be honest with you. And that has been amazing. This first round was January through June. So we just wrapped that up. And then in a perfect world, we would have re-enrolled for July, but because the baby is due any day, it's starting up again in October. And the first round was mostly local women, and this next round will be, I can already kind of sense it's going to be more than local. And so that's really cool to see that kind of start expanding. And, you know, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, my branding sessions for photography would oftentimes kind of morph into mentoring sessions. And so once I realized that I really enjoyed that, that was another area that I kind of started to explore. And so I'm really hoping in the next 5 years that coaching is a bigger part of my business. Again, like being able to bring kind of like-minded women together and get them to understand that like the knowledge that they have that they likely kind of take for granted just because it's their knowledge, is really special and is something that needs to be shared. Like they were put on this earth to share what's in their brain. And when that light bulb goes on, I mean, it's the best feeling in the world. So I want to do more of that.
I love it. So let's talk about your own growth. Like, what was the best advice that you've ever received?
Oh, that's a good one. I think, gosh, I've had so many incredibly impactful people come into my life, and like so many other really amazing entrepreneurs who are maybe like a few years ahead of me, that I've been like lucky enough to have really great conversations with. And I think the best thing that I've learned and that now I try to teach other people is that there's space for everybody. Like there truly is enough room for you at the table. And I think especially like you had mentioned, in the age of so much information and so much content, it's so easy to think someone else has already done that. There's not room for me here. Why would I do that if this person did it so well? But the reality is stuff hits differently depending on who's saying it and how they're saying it and the forum that they're saying it in. And I think if something keeps coming up for you and is put in your brain or on your heart or whatever it might be, there's a reason for that. And it's part of your mission to share that, whether or not someone else has shared it before. I don't know that there's an original thought left, but we can say it differently and we can present it differently. And that's kind of the beauty of everyone being an individual. So just that there's space for everybody and that competition in like the negative sense doesn't have to exist.
Exactly. I love that. I share your beliefs wholeheartedly. Like everybody has a message. Everybody's important. We all can impact one another in ways we don't even know unless we're really willing to share who we are.
Absolutely.
That's why I love seeing someone like you come in and teach branding from a place of truth and of who you are and of realness. It's just going to make the biggest difference for people. So
I appreciate that. I think people get nervous about mixing business with personal, and certainly you have to figure out what you're comfortable with. And that's going to be different for everybody, but people are interested. Like that's why reality TV is as big as it is. People are interested in the personal, and it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what personal growth have you experienced as a result of all of this?
Oh, I think, especially ironically, as I guess this is much more on the personal side than on the business side, but as we kind of prepare for baby number 3, I was reflecting earlier today on how much more like at peace I feel just as a human. I've done, I kind of came into I came into a like spiritual mastermind about a year and a half ago that I joined. And it was the exact thing that I did not know that I needed. It was something that it was absolutely something that, that I needed, that I wasn't even really sure what it was at the time. And so not only have I had the ability with my business coach to work on my business, but also just kind of the spiritual side and understanding that, you know, there's a reason for the stuff that I'm passionate about and all of those things. And that has bled into my personal life as well. And just kind of feeling so much more at peace with like, even just my personal life, understanding that if I don't feel like doing, like really getting a bunch of work done in a particular day, or if I'm not feeling it, or if I had a project that I was really passionate about and then suddenly I'm not anymore, kind of leaning into those feelings as opposed to just trying to push through and be a robot. Instead leaning into them and trying to understand, well, why is this not getting me excited anymore? Is that something that I should really honor, or do I need to just push past it because it's a bad day? I think I'm just a lot more in tune with my body in that sense. And that is great for my personal life, and so much so for my business. There's so much less guilt. The guilt is still there, I think, as women, unfortunately. It's just,
and with
it tends to
being
be
a mom and kids at home, like
totally, it's still there, but I feel a lot more peaceful about it, and just kind of understanding that like there may be days that I just don't have it in me, and that's okay. Like it's okay to not, go so hard every single day. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned, certainly in the last couple of years, but even in the last couple of months with everything that's happened with COVID-19. I used to say, I like being busy and I like it when my schedule is full, and, I like all those things. And I've realized that I like it just as well when I'm not busy. That's okay.
That's really cool. That, that's a good sign that you're really honoring who you are. And,
it's been a really cool realization, I have to say.
I think that growing a business is the biggest personal development journey we could ever sign up for.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You learn, as you're growing a business, you learn so much about yourself that perhaps you didn't necessarily even want to learn, but you kind of have to.
But you did. So what about like tools and gadgets? What kind of things do you use to make your life easier?
Oh my gosh. I feel like there are so many things that that have made my business run more smoothly. And I kind of look back 5 or 6 years ago and think like, what on earth did I do before I had XYZ? I think one of the biggest things that I use as far as a tool is a CRM called Dubsado. And I'm a firm believer that like whatever CRM you're going to use that makes sense for you is the right one. I happen to just really like this one, but it organizes all of my clients, all of my projects, both photography and coaching clients. It stores my contracts. It stores my invoices. It automates communication. It was my assistant before I was able to hire an assistant. And it's a really, really cool platform. And so that's like the main thing that I look back and I'm like, what did I even do? Did I have like an Excel spreadsheet? Like, what was I doing?
How did I function?
Yeah, truly no idea. And then, so that's probably the biggest one. I also really like, I love creating content, and, I think when you are creating a lot of content, you want it to continue to live on, like that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
And so I use an app called Smarter Queue that essentially just recycles evergreen content, both podcast episodes and blog posts and GIFs or whatever it might be, because we all know that so few people are seeing the stuff that we're posting on a daily basis. Yeah. So just giving it a little bit more life and letting me not quite work as hard. I love that tool.
Yeah, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like recirculating a book or something, just all of your content and the things you've shared that is missed by so many people. And, we do that, and I'll put up posts even on Facebook that I've put up 3 or 4 times over the last couple of years, and people love it. And I feel like, oh my gosh, are we going to share that again? They're going to get tired of it, but like, they haven't even seen it. Right.
No, it's so crazy. I have been really experimenting with that lately. Like even just tweaking the copy a tiny bit or changing the graphic or like doing something very minuscule, and the post will like blow up the second time. And I'm like, I've already talked about this, but okay.
What about like resources as far as blogs, books, audio books? What are you reading? What are you listening to?
So a big part of my, I think coming into like this more peaceful version of myself was obviously the mastermind that I'm in, which is called Women of Woo, which has been just a huge source of change in my life. But I also, around the same time that I joined that, I read this book called Do Less by Kate Northrup. Are you familiar with it?
Mm-hmm. I haven't read it, but I've heard about it.
It's the book that I tell people, like, go buy it right now. It changed my life. Like, it's so good. And it just kind of took home everything that I was kind of already learning, but it did it in a very practical, easy to understand type way. Just understanding, being able to listen to your body and listen to your emotions, and use it in a way that kind of can propel you forward, as opposed to thinking that it's a negative. Like it's a negative when you don't want to work as hard, or it's a negative when you are just not feeling it that day. And instead kind of understanding that when you really know yourself, it's actually a really huge asset to be able to kind of understand those dips and that sort of a thing. So I loved that book. It was incredible.
That sounds like a great book. I love self-awareness. That's one of the big things that I'm teaching actually in my masterminds.
Yes.
Even though I'm helping people learn how to grow businesses and create, their visibility and all of that stuff, but really it's coming from a deeper sense of self-awareness and who they are and what they want.
It's so true. And I think that's something that we kind of tend to hide from, because it's a really difficult conversation or realization, or, I mean, it's hard work to figure those types of things out. But once that's clear, everything else becomes so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking back, if you were to do this all over again, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell myself, I think like a lot of young women, I spent a lot of time caring way too much about what other people thought, just putting too much stock in other opinions. And to this day, I don't have particularly thick skin. That's just not an asset of mine, unfortunately. But I have gotten better about understanding that, like, if I want to do something, first of all, if I want to do something, I can do it. And if I want to do something and it kind of keeps bubbling up inside of me, there's a reason. And just because other people might be saying that's too hard, that's too crazy, don't do that thing, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't pursue it. I think I've gotten better with like gut checking myself and listening to that intuition. And I'm glad that I figured that out at a fairly young age. I think a lot of the time, I mean, that's a tough lesson to learn. But your intuition it's there for a reason, and it's so important, and it's the biggest tool you have.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story and everything you've learned, and just the behind the scenes look at you. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you for having me. This was so fun. It's fun to just kind of look back at the last couple of years and chat about it with someone else who gets it. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Hello and welcome. I'm recording this episode from my home office during self-quarantine, as we were all asked to stay home due to the coronavirus. If you like what you hear and you'd like to hear more, please join me in my Facebook group. It's called the Unleashed Entrepreneurs. You can search that on Facebook. Come on over. It's a community of thriving entrepreneurs making a difference in the world, doing what they love, and changing lives. Hope to see you there. Enjoy the show. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you ever wondered what you could do to make your own business and grow it online? Head on over to PattieKeating.com and take the entrepreneur code. You'll discover your unique value, your personality style, and how you can combine those two into a thriving business that helps people and lets you make money doing what you love. I'll see you there. Bye for now.